Sometimes it happens that without effort, someone makes a great gain. For example, and here we've got a very Hindu example, the state elephant chooses, in accordance with an ancient practice, a mendicant, that's a travelling wanderer or a beggar or a holy man. The elephant chooses a mendicant as the ruler of a country whose king suddenly died without leaving an heir. So this is what happened. This is what happened in traditional India, apparently. That if a king died, the royal elephant would be taken out, and they would just choose a wandering mendicant to be the elephant would choose. This is certainly neither an accident nor some kind of divine act, but the fruit of the mendicant's self-effort in the past birth. I don't know if the mendicant's got much choice in the matter here. I suppose there's a feeling here that nothing happens by accident. Everything has some kind of purpose. But what's really happening is, we can put a purpose onto anything, which is what we do. It's what astrology is about. We try and find meaning in everything. We try and find meaning in coincidences. We're looking for meaning. And this is what's going on here. And there's nothing wrong with that. We have to try and find some basis for what we do. We have to have a model. It's a bit like I mentioned before about the model of the atom. The physicists have this model of an atom, which has varied through the years. But even in schools, I'm sure they still teach the old solar system model of the atom, of a central nucleus, which is like the sun, and electrons whirling around it like planets. And that's got nothing to do with the reality. But at some point, in some ways, it's a useful way of thinking. So we shouldn't confuse useful ways of thinking with actually the way things are, which is what we often do. Sometimes it happens that a farmer's efforts are made fruitless by a hailstorm. Surely the hailstorm's own power was greater than the farmer's effort. And so what should the farmer do? And the farmer should put forth greater effort now. In other words, he just shouldn't collapse in despair and self-pity. He should not grieve over the inevitable loss. If such grief is justified, why should he not weep daily over the inevitability of death? Which is a good point. If you're going to weep over adversity, well, you're going to be weeping all the time. There is so much adversity to consider. Death, sickness, injustice. We'd never stop crying. On the other hand, the wise man should of course know what is capable of attainment by self-effort and what is not. Again, that's a good point. We have to be realistic. We take total responsibility for our situation, but we have to be realistic about what can be achieved. It is, however, ignorance to attribute all this to an outside agency and to say that God sends me to heaven or to hell, or that an outside agency makes me do this or that. Such an ignorant person should be shunned. So he's making a very strong point, and he's making this, and in making that strong point, he really goes outside the remit, what I think we could say is the remit of the Yoga Vasistha, which is to do with directing our attention, or reclaiming our attention for itself and not letting our attention be hijacked. Not letting it be hijacked by beliefs and by sensory distractions. So he comes to the point now. One should free oneself from likes and dislikes and engage oneself in righteous self-effort and reach the supreme truth, knowing that self-effort alone is another name for divine will. We only ridicule the fatalist. That alone is self-effort which springs from right understanding, which manifests in one's heart, which has been exposed to the teachings of the Scriptures and the conduct of the holy ones. So it springs from right understanding which manifests in one's heart. We free ourselves from likes and dislikes and engage in righteous self-effort. Here the word righteous doesn't have the moral connotations that it has in the Middle East or in Christianity and so on. I think it just means right self-effort. But it is, I suppose there is a moral sense that it is the effort worth making in every sense of the word. It's the effort which allows us to reach the supreme truth. And self-effort alone is another name for divine will. So there we go.